Hey gang, today's Halloween comic review is DC Comics presents Superman in the House of Mystery, issue number 53. I picked this one up because of the House of Mystery crossover, and I think I read this story many years back, but basically have your Crypt Keeper type character introducing the story, and a kid's coming up in a Superman outfit to he was trick or treating, and all of a sudden, while he's talking to the lady at the door, he grows into Superman and basically doesn't remember being a kid anymore, thinks he is actually Superman, and uses his powers to fly off because he hears someone in trouble, or he knows that someone's in trouble and he's got to save them. And we just happen to see Lois is having a party at her pad, and everybody's dressed up mostly like superheroes, and the superheroes and godlike characters and stuff like that. Uh, but Superman himself is dressed up as the Green Lantern, and we see at one point where one of the characters, oh, Thor character, not Thor. Well, no, I guess he would be the Thor character. I was thinking he was the Samson character. But we see Superman crash in the window, who's not Superman, it's the kid as Superman. And then we see this character getting some lightning powers and stuff, and so Superman himself, other people think, got his powers, the Green Lantern's powers, because he's wearing the outfit and he does some things to charge his ring up, and then he goes flying off after him, and he can smell the trail of Lois's perfume. I wanted to. I'm trying to think of what kind of perfume, like Eau de Aztec. I don't know. Uh, but she had she picked up a perfume that matched her outfit. Superman was able to follow the sun as the Green Hornet, or as the Green Lantern, and we see Crypt Keeper and the little kids all hanging out, talking about what's going on, and all of a sudden, Mistleplex appears, and we find out that Mistleplex set this all up and is messing with Superman. Some birds turn into giant pterodactyl style birds. Not really pterodactyls, but big giant birds with that just decided to attack Superman as the Green Lantern. And Mistleplex keeps playing around with it, turning some of the kids into different figures along the way. It's like there's a couple, like two or three kids that are dressed up as ghosts, and he turns them into real ghosts. Another kid's dressed up as a werewolf. He turns them into a werewolf. All these are going to be surprises for Superman when Superman gets to the mansion to save Lois. One kid's dressed like Dracula. He gets turned into a vampire and stuff. And Superman gets to the mansion, starts going through the mansion, room by room, trying to find Lois. Comes across this giant tentacle beast with some type of goop in the middle there, where Superman is guessing is probably his mouth. Mouth is in there, and it's going to try and eat him. But that again is the Superman that was the kid, and they keep. Well, actually, no, no, I'm confused for a second here. Yeah, because the kid turned back. Yeah, the kid that was Superman turned back to the kid once Superman got to the house, and then Superman turned from Green Lantern into the Superman outfit. At one moment, there's a skeleton coming down the stairs, and Superman backhands it, knocks him out, and it ends up that it's a kid. Also, once he gets knocked down, then he turns into his kid form, and so Superman's all feels all bad, and he's like trying not to hurt any other creatures or beings because of this. And in the middle of this whole story, we get a special Atari Force preview, basically preview where they are out in space and get attacked by a spaceship, and then it gets the spaceships are by a planet where these frog characters are living on, and they're attacking the spaceships, and we see that the Atari Force is coming there to save some people who have been enslaved. The frog people also take off on more spaceships to attack the Atari Force crew, and which could be a pretty easy attack if they could penetrate any part of the central part of the main ship, because the main ship's like four different gas chambers. Uh, but we see in there that Atari Force saves the people, and they get crawling out of the ground. That was a nice little teaser preview. It is almost like having a whole issue, probably pretty close to a whole issue. But then we get back to Superman and Mistleplex. We see the kid on the couch that was a skeleton character, and he's just wearing his skeleton uniform, his costume, laying on the couch, reviving from being backhanded by Superman. It put you through some major painful imagery. And Superman comes into one room, and it's basically the Daily Planet's office, and he goes to work and has to do some stuff for his boss, and Jimmy's there, and he tries to get Jimmy to help him out with some stuff. And while this is going on, we also got our cryptape keeper that's in this office, doesn't really fully realize that he's part of this now. Uh, and then it jumps over once Superman figures out some gangsters bust into the newspaper offices and start some stuff, and then that Superman gets past that, and he realizes that he's got all these different pains and stuff, and we find out that Mistleplex basically set it up where all the walls were painted with kryptonite paint, and so that was affecting him, and then he falls into a hole in the floor, and then realizes he's trapped in something, and he's feeling around, and it feels like something familiar, and then he comes crawling out of a coffin, and that's where we see our vampire, and he deals with the vampire and does a thing with some light, playing with some light images that end up transforming the kid back into his normal vampire costumed self. And I don't know how bad the perfume is that Lois is wearing, but Superman smells the odor again and follows it and goes in a door, opens up the door, and there's a skunk in there. So that could be some pretty nasty perfume. It's relative to the smell of a skunk. Uh, that's cool. They got the Sergeant Rock playset in there. Forgot about the Sergeant Rock playset and toys. And then we finally see that Mistleplex appears after Superman does not perform his duties by midnight and did not save Lois by midnight. Mistleplex appears, and then Superman just starts laughing and like, you set this all up, and it's like you just wanted to get me, and Mistleplex isn't out to hurt anybody really, just more or less wants to mess with Superman. So the kids find out about Mistleplex having to say his name backwards in order to get zapped back to his dimension. And so the kids make a plan with the Crypt Keeper guy, and he basically, every time he says Mistleplex's name, he said it a bunch of goofy ways. And Mistleplex always says, no, it's not that, it's this name. And so this time he used the name in reverse, and Mistleplex is like, no, it's not that name, it's Mistleplex. And as soon as he said it, or said Clipsilim, I think it is, Clipsilexum, something like that, then Mistleplex poofed, vanished, went back to his plane, and everything was back to normal. But yeah, this was a fun one. But I definitely remember reading that in the past, that whole storyline. I just recall it all. So yeah, keep following under the Call of MS. Rate, review, subscribe. Give us a like. Leave a comment. I'll comment back. Check out Crimson Color Comic Club. This Monday, the 5 p.m. Central Time on my channel will be the comic book auction, which I should post something for that. And so come and check it out. Might find some good deals. Me and Dan will be selling comics. I don't even know which ones I'm doing this week, but I will have some. Other than that, we'll be back with Morty's every day of this month. So keep an eye out and have a great Halloween.